good old 1947 Dodge. And this old girl's been sitting for a good 59 years. And as you can see, she's in really good shape. She did come from Colorado originally, but she's been here in Arkansas for a few years, I guess. The guy did make a bumper for it at one point. He was going to put a 3-cylinder Detroit in her. She does have the good old inline 6, and well, as usual, she is locked up dead solid. It does look like at some point she was rebuilt. I guess she's a 239 cubic inch engine, and this is normally a remanufacturer's tag, and somewhere here should be the old oil checker, my bob. There we go. Well, honestly, that has to be the cleanest oil I have ever seen in one of these things. Or is that water down there? No, that's oil. You can see it's a little over full. So I'm going to say she probably has some condensation and water down in there, but that is clean. That's almost like brand new. I don't think any of the plugs are rusted off, but as you can see, they're a little rough. We'll heat them up and soak them. Normally on these, it's either the rear ones or the first two that end up rusting out, but she won't even budge there. On the interior here, she's in really good shape. I've always wanted an old truck like this because I like how the front end on these things looks. Just like the old 33 Dodge we got a while back. But this one doesn't have suicide doors. She has 48,945.5 miles on her. Good old jiggle stick. Well, clutch pedal don't seem to be stuck. That's a good sign. And the last time she was on the road was in 1966, and she was a good old farm truck. I was told it did have a grain bed on it at some point. This bumper was made to put on it. It does have some stainless steel D-rings too. I'll probably set this back up on the front once we get her running because it looks pretty neat. It was just sitting on there. The guy was going to put a 3-cylinder Detroit in it because I guess he was going to give up on the old inline 6 in here, but she's too good to give up on. We're going to go ahead and pull these plugs out of her, get her soaking, and here in a day or two, I bet we'll have her running and hopefully driving. Go ahead and heat these old spark plugs up so hopefully none of them break off. Got them all cleaned out around, and we only have this one, and this back one kind of had a wiggle to it when I was prying on it with a screwdriver, so there probably are two kind of iffy plugs, and it's normally number 2 and number 6 anyway. I'll let that do its thing for a while, and I'll get back with you guys when we spray her down with the good old PB Blast. You always want to give it a good generous amount. You never can put too much on there. I don't think I got that one just hot enough. It's not boiling like it should. We'll hop a few plugs down because it likes to catch on fire. I went ahead and let these guys soak for a while. And hopefully they all come out of there without breaking. Now, I'm sure someone's gonna say something about the Milwaukee Impact. Didn't buy this out of choice, had to buy it because somebody stole my Cobalt one and all my sockets out of my truck, so this was the only thing they had, so I guess we have a Milwaukee Impact now. Well, that one didn't break. There's a little bit of rust on that one, but nothing major. Come on. I do gotta say, this thing has a lot more torque than the old wore-out Cobalt did. Mainly just carbon so far. That one's shiny as can be. Huh. I don't know why this thing's locked up then. Carbon. What these two look like. I think that right there's the culprit. That one has just a little bit of rust on it, and this one here is clean as a whistle. I'm not really sure how clean a whistle would be, but it's clean as a whistle. Well, looking down in there, nothing looks terrible on any of these, really. You can see there's a little bit of, just a little bit of, I think, surface rust on this one. You can see a rust spot down in there on number 3 on top of the valve, but none of them look like they have really that much rust in them. So hopefully we don't have any stuck valves. Maybe there's just a little bit of rust around one of the piston rings. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up our transmission fluid and acetone, pour it down in there, and we'll give her a couple of days, and I figure she'll be pretty easy to get loose. I'm hoping the reason that she's stuck is because she was remanufactured not long before she was parked, and normally the better the rings in an engine, especially if they get locked up like this with an air cleaner and everything on them, normally the rings are pretty good. That's just draining out the exhaust. Okay. Is that the exhaust or is... Yep, that's the exhaust. And that one's draining out the exhaust. Okay. I went ahead and let the old girl soak for a couple of days, and I went ahead and put some battery cables on there. I'm gonna try to cheat and just bump the starter and see if we can break her loose that way. I don't think she's gonna be very stuck because she didn't look too rusty down in there, and she did have the old air cleaner, and she has a full exhaust system, so hopefully a bunch of moisture and stuff hasn't got up in there. And luckily this one has a starter, not a hand crank. Well, it has a hand crank, but it's got the option for electric starter. That probably don't work. Okay. I don't even think it's moving. Oh, the Bendix is froze up. So is the starter button. Oh, there we go. So the Bendix is froze up because the little lever there, it just ain't moving. I think the best solution for that problem is just to spray it with PB Blaster. That should fix it. Shut the camera off and was beating on that thing, and it just all of a sudden started whirling, and it broke the motor loose and sprayed stuff everywhere. But she's not locked up now. Boys, woo, spraying that stuff everywhere. It's still a little sticky. I'll have to work on that. But she is broke loose. I'm going to go ahead and, well, we're going to change the oil on the old girl. She came loose a lot easier than I thought she would. The starter went thud, and it was stuck on before and just, I guess, broke it loose pretty easy. That little thing's still going to be a problem. We'll have to work it back and forth, but change the oil so we don't run all that nasty stuff through her. Time to see how much oil's in our water pan, because normally it's mostly water in these bad boys. Oh, that's some, well, I think I stirred it up enough that the water and oil have become one. I think that's mostly oil. That don't look too bad. I mean, it's nasty looking, but it's not too dark, and it ain't got a bunch of chunks in it, and it's still oily. Well, I'm gonna let that drain. We'll put that plug back in there, fill her up with some new oil, throw some plugs, and clean the points, and we should have her running here in a minute. I went ahead and put some fresh oil in there, a new set of plugs, and well, the last thing to do is see what the old points look like. Not too bad. Everything seems to be there. A little bit of rust on the top of that, and you can see down here on the points. Let's try to do this where you guys can see all the corrosion on them. Well, they're not too bad, but there's not much left of them. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up, and I'll get back with you guys. Well, the points are clean enough to spark, and well, looks like they're going to, so I'm going to throw all that back together. The coil's already hooked up, plug the coil wire into the top of the distributor, and we'll whirl her over, and I bet she'll fire off on the first or second whirl. I'm going to give her a little hit of ether. I really don't think it'll take much on this one because it really seems like the old girl's got quite a bit of compression. Let's throttle lift up on this one, or is it pull down? Well, the throttle's seized up on this one. There. That should be good, and I'll give it a little bit of it's already leaking out pretty good. I think the seals in the carburetor might be a little bad. They should rehydrate here in a minute. Well, come on. Okay, it's hidden because there's some smoke coming out of the blow-by tube. Close the choke up here a little. That starter's still sticky. I pried back and forth on it with a crowbar and everything, but it doesn't want to go all the way down, and if you push it all the way down, it gets stuck. And found another carburetor. The good thing about being a hoarder is you always have a carburetor or something around, and Hopefully this works a little bit better. I do believe it was a carburation issue, so she should fire off. She's trying. I do believe she's flooded out. That is mainly my fault there because I accidentally poured a whole bunch of gas down it. Give her some throttle there and that should do it. Come on. Go. Still not running very well. There. Okay. There. Come on. That generator is making a terrible noise. I do not believe that that's the pilot bearing now. At first I figured it was, but it's coming from this old generator. Let's give it a healthy spray. Let's just give everything a good spray. Come on, girl. No? This one's being a little bit of a troublemaker on not wanting to run. Not sure why, really. I'm gonna let her set for a while and cool down. I'm gonna go ahead and get some water. We're gonna put some water down in her, and we're gonna see if we can take her for a spin. She does smoke quite a bit, and she has a whole lot of blow-by. It's really blowing out the lower blow-by tube, so not too sure on that. It may need a set of rings, but I think she's gonna be just fine. Hit the old starter button here, and just like that. We got a problem. Ain't that something? She started getting a little warm there all of a sudden. What happened with the cooling system is when the thermostat opened, a rat nest was somewhere, well, a small Ratticus nest was probably up in here, and it went through there and got hung up in the thermostat. That thermostat didn't look too good anyway, but it had a good old rat wound up in it, and you can see it was already opened here and stuck open, but a whole bunch of rat nests got in there, and that was our problem. And when I took that off, this hose broke, so I took some sticks, beat them in there, and that's gonna hold. I'm gonna start her up and see if we can take her for a little bit of a test drive. say this old girl runs like a sewing machine. At first, she didn't really want to run. I think that was somewhat to a vacuum leak, a little bit of problem with spark. The carburetor was a little messed up, so we put the other carburetor on there. We had a valve that started sticking. We got that one loose, and I gotta say, she runs amazingly. She even drives around. I got her into second gear. She seems to have pretty good power. I don't think there's anything wrong with that old motor. The smoke coming out of there is blow by, and the steam coming off that side is boiling fuel vapor because it's leaking out of there. I tried tightening it. That worked for a little bit, and then it started leaking at the back part there, and then this thing started leaking the catch bowl because it's not supposed to be leaned sideways, but I couldn't get it tight enough without leaning it sideways. But all in all, she runs like a brand new machine. Our little sticks in the where the hose is supposed to go, they held up great. The radiator's holding, whoa, that's kind of warm. It ain't boiling hot, but it's probably 170 degrees. Well, nah. That's probably about 112 degrees, maybe 120. You can see the radiator leaks down here, which is a problem. Actually, I think it's got two spots where she's leaking. She's spraying somewhere in there. I can fix that with some good old lead solder and get her all fixed up brand new. I've always wanted one of these old body styles like this, and I gotta say, she just runs amazingly. And she even drives. But, well, we got her running, we got her driving. I thank you guys for watching. Please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing because we got a lot more cool vehicles coming to the channel, and you're guaranteed to see this one again.